So this story is interesting. Democrats now are calling for Pete Hegseth to resign over the Signal chat thread. But when 13 service members lost their lives in Afghanistan, nobody resigned and nobody was held accountable. Let's start here.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth should resign. He recklessly texted operational details of military strikes, including time, place, location, and sequencing of those strikes, to a journalist. Had that information gotten to the Houthis, American pilots could have been shot down, Navy sailors could have been targeted. His reckless actions endangered the lives of American troops, endanger our national security, and makes it so that our allies don't want to share sensitive classified information with us anymore. In addition, Signal is not approved for government use, especially for this kind of use.
So that's California Democrat Ted Lieu leading the charge on claiming that Pete Hegseth endangered lives by texting in a secured Signal chat group. But here's what he doesn't mention, that there were no names, no targets, no locations, or no classified information actually shared in the chat. We've already discussed this. You guys know. But listen, when Democrats run out of ideas, what do? They go to fake outrage. They try to manufacture a scandal. And so how do we know this is a manufactured scandal and that there really isn't anything here? Well, listen to the CIA director this morning. He just testified in front of Congress, and he said this.
With regard to that article, I also would appreciate the opportunity to relay the fact that yesterday I spent 4 hours answering questions from senators as a result of that article that were intimating that I transmitted classified information because there were hidden messages. Those messages were revealed today and revealed that I did not transmit classified information and that the reporter, who I don't know, I think intentionally intended it to indicate that. That reporter also indicated that I had released the name of an undercover CIA operative in that Signal chat. In fact, I had released the name of my chief of staff, who is not operating undercover. That was deliberately false and misleading, and I appreciate the opportunity to reflect that my answers haven't changed. I used an appropriate channel to communicate sensitive information. It was permissible to do so. I didn't transfer any classified information. And at the end of the day, what is most important is that the mission was a remarkable success, is what everyone should be focused on here, because that's what did happen, not what possibly could have happened.
So it's very clear. The Signal app isn't a rogue app, by the way. It's encrypted, approved, widely used throughout the federal government, which I will show you receipts here shortly. And the CIA director basically said what we already knew. This isn't a scandal. Okay, it's just communication between government officials at a high level. But the media is trying to turn this into a firestorm because of one thing, actually one person, President Trump. If you're affiliated with President Trump, you're on the chopping block, right? And here's where it really gets funny. That same publication, The Atlantic, screaming about how Signal is now dangerous and people's lives will be lost. Just not too long ago, they were actually celebrating that app. Take a look at this. Now, this is a post that was uploaded by Rapid Response 47 this morning. They said that The Atlantic called Signal, quote, the gold standard of encrypted messaging. They even admitted, and I'll just read it here for you, is used by staffers who work for President Trump, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, and New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. Elon Musk even chimed in. He said, interesting. Yeah, so it is interesting because if you fast forward to 2025, now all of a sudden it's dangerous and lives will be lost. Give me a break, okay? This isn't about the app, ladies and gentlemen. It's about attacking President Trump and his cabinet, which leads us to what Pete Hegseth had to say in response. Take a look at this.
Mr. Secretary, the messages the White House called authentic did at the very least include sensitive details about targets and timing. Did you declassify that information before you put it in the chat? And are you using Signal to discuss operations as sensitive as the strikes against the Houthis on a government or a personal phone?
First, all I would say is the strikes against the Houthis that night were devastatingly effective. And I'm incredibly proud of the courage and skill of the troops. And they are ongoing and continue to be devastatingly effective. The last place I would want to be right now is a Houthi in Yemen who wants to disrupt freedom of navigation. So the skill and courage of our troops is on full display. It's a complete opposite approach from the fecklessness of the Biden administration. President Trump said peace through strength will be brought back. Freedom of navigation will return. And that's exactly what we're doing. As I also stated yesterday, nobody's texting war plans. And that's all I have to say.
So the bottom line is Pete Hegseth is telling the truth. I mean, if you want to criticize the man, you can criticize him for his initial reaction, where clearly he was emotionally upset when this story obviously came out. But the bottom line is, and my only advice to the Trump administration is, don't give that reporter, that failed reporter, that unhinged reporter, okay, Jeff Goldberg, any attention whatsoever. All right. You guys made a mistake. It's fine. Keep it pushing. That's what the American people expect for the response to be. But let's give him some credit here. He's telling the truth. There was no war plans in the chat group. We know that. Okay. It's just messaging at a high level. And how do we know that to be true, ladies and gentlemen? Because it's not just my opinion. Even The Atlantic has acknowledged that this story isn't what it was in the beginning, because they are now changing the headline to the story. Now, this was actually posted by Sean Purnell, the spokesman at the Pentagon, where he said this: "It's no surprise hoax peddlers at the Atlantic have already abandoned their warplanes claim. These additional signal chat messages confirm there were no classified materials or war plans shared. The secretary was merely updating the group on a plan that was underway and had already been briefed through official channels. The American people see through the Atlantic's pathetic attempt to distract from President Trump's national security agenda." And as you guys can see, here is the updated headline. Here are the attack plans that Trump's advisors shared on Signal. Now, listen, you have to understand something really quick. There were no plans in the chat. There were updates, but there was no plans that said, here's who's going to be a part of it. Here's where they're going to be a part of it. Here's when they're going to do this. Here's who they're going to strike. Here's what that actually looks like. Here's how it's going to happen. None of that is in there. It's just high level going back and forth. Like, hey, here's the update. Bottom line, that's all it really was. Now, in case that isn't enough for you to buy into what we're saying here, let's just listen to the Director of National Intelligence herself go on the record, sworn testimony in front of Congress, where she says this.
Director Gabbard, was the target terrorist named in the text, or was it simply referred to as target terrorist?
The target was not named.
Thank you. Was the location named?
Congressman, no locations were named.
Thank you.
So how many times do we have to say it? No names, no locations, no classified details. The Signal thread, they're all panicking over. Yeah, it had less intel than your average weather app. Some people could argue that, actually. But the left needs drama, okay? This is what they obviously are feeding off of, okay? They got to manufacture a crisis because that's how they make their living at this point. Think about these left-wing media influencers, MSDNC. They have made so much money being outraged by President Trump. Let's just be honest here. But the question that they won't answer, which I think is really interesting, is something that Jesse Waters brought up on his show last night. Take a look at this.
Journalists like Goldberg will sometimes send out fake names with a contact with their cells to deceive politicians. Wall says Elon and Big Balls are on the case. This wouldn't surprise me if Goldberg sneaked his way in. He's the lowest of the low. This is the guy who reported that Trump didn't want to pay for a Gold Star funeral. Remember, he said it doesn't cost $60K to bury an effing Mexican. Total lie. Goldberg's the guy who said that Trump called American soldiers suckers and losers. Lie. This guy's fine people, P-tape, can't trust him.
Now that's where things really get weird. So you're telling me it's a common practice for journalists to deliberately send phony contact cards in order to bait officials. Let's say that's true. Let's say that's exactly what happened. Well, Mike Walsh, that's still a mistake. You got to know better. You got to get better. You got to be able to defend against these attacks, right? I think that's a credible criticism, okay? And I said it yesterday. The analogy here is we're already up 30 points on the Democrats. Unfortunately, Mike Waltz, who's our quarterback, he threw a pick six. Now, let's bring our attention to what I would say probably is the most important point out of all of this. Was the mission successful? Here is Sean Purnell from the Pentagon answering that question.
U.S. Central Command Forces initiated a series of operations consisting of precision strikes against Iran-backed Houthi targets across Yemen to restore freedom of navigation and reestablish American deterrence. For years, the Houthis have targeted U.S. military ships and aircraft. They've hit commercial ships as well, including U.S. flagged vessels, and they threaten our personnel overseas. Houthi terrorists have launched missiles, one-way attack drones at U.S. warships over 170 times, and at commercial vessels 145 times since 2003. I know what it's like to be in a situation when you're under fire by the enemy. Your life is at risk. The life of your friends and your battle buddies is at risk, and you're prohibited from returning fire. That's a hellish situation that I wouldn't wish on my worst adversary. It's a tough position that we put America's sons and daughters in. Under President Trump and Secretary Hegseth's leadership, we will defend our sons and daughters. If you shoot at American troops, there will be consequences.
So 3 main things. Number 1, the most important question is, how did the reporter get into the group chat? Okay. Second most important question is, what is this scandal exactly? And the third point here is, was the mission successful? Absolutely. Terrorists were eliminated. No Americans' lives lost. Clean execution, flawless outcome. So this isn't a scandal, ladies and gentlemen. It's a win. And the reason why you're not hearing it framed in that way is because that would mean they'd have to give President Trump some credit. And they're not going to do that. And the reason why they won't do it is because it's not a part of their makeup. Okay, that's not who Democrats are. And I'm going to show you who they are. Here is Senator Blumenthal earlier in his career lying that he served in Vietnam. Take a look.
We have learned something very important since the days that I served in Vietnam, and you exemplify it. Whatever we think about the war, whatever we call it.
So clearly that video is terrible quality, just like the terrible qualities of the senator who back in 2008 claimed that he served in Vietnam and then walked it back by saying he misspoke. So if that's who Democrats really are morally, where does he get off by saying this morning? Take a look.
And I agree there has to be accountability. If the facts are as reported, there should be resignations and there should be an investigation either by the Defense Department IG, Inspector General, or by the FBI, the specific security investigative service within the FBI, because there is potentially here a violation of the Espionage Act, as well as the Federal Records and Presidential Records Acts. There are serious potential violations of law at stake here. And the denial that we've heard about this material being classified is jaw-dropping.
But he didn't resign after he lied about serving in Vietnam. What we would call that, ladies and gentlemen, is stolen valor. Same thing with Tim Walz. And what do they both have said? Oh, I misspoke. Okay, well, if you misspoke, where's the accountability, though? See, it's one thing for you to quit, to even run away from your unit and retire. That's bad. But you know what's worse than that? Lying that you even went to war in the first place. That's who that senator is. And so he lied about it. He never apologized. He's still in Congress collecting a paycheck, but he believes he stands for trust and credibility. Right. Give me a break. And things don't stop there, because the FBI director, CIA director, the director of national intelligence is still on Capitol Hill today testifying to this nonsense. Take a look at this exchange.
Now that another day has passed, do you believe that it's now time potentially for the FBI to open an investigation into this?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Because you're the director of the FBI, you don't believe it's appropriate to comment on that?
Because there's a process in place, there's an ongoing litigation, and the National Security Council is reviewing this matter. And I'm not going to discuss any open or closed investigations.
That ongoing investigation, literally, the lawsuit happened today or yesterday afternoon, and the idea that you don't have an opinion on this at this point is frustrating to me.
No, it's not. I'm not going to prejudge any matters, and the men and women of the FBI will call the balls and strikes.
Reclaiming my time,
not
sir.
you.
Sir, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have...
Gentlewoman's recognized. You have
Thank
4
you.
seconds remaining.
No, I have more than
You have
that
2
because
seconds
Mr.
remaining.
Patel would not acknowledge
Gentlewoman's time has expired.
So I guess it only took 60 days for Democrats to finally be united about something. And what they're united around is trying to get Pete Hegseth to resign, to make the Trump cabinet look stupid, and to manufacture this fake scandal, which just is not going to happen. American people are not going to buy it. Now, were there some mistakes made here? Yes, but were there catastrophic mistakes at the same level of 13 service members losing their lives in Afghanistan? No. Was it the same level of mistakes where Eric Snowden clearly leaked classified information that also led to names of CIA operatives being leaked as well? Absolutely not. But they want you to believe this is going to cost American lives. Now, I wasn't the only one to make that point. Here's the White House press secretary just moments ago saying this.
We are not going to be lectured about national security and American troops by Democrats and the mainstream media who turned the other cheek when the Biden administration, because of their incompetence, left 13 service members dead in Afghanistan, and not a single person in the previous administration was held accountable for that botched withdrawal. Joe Biden said, in fact, it was a great operation. That is despicable. It's unacceptable to this president and this Secretary of Defense. The National Security Advisor has taken responsibility for this inadvertent number being added to the messaging thread. But above all, we take the lives of our troops, safety, security, prosperity around the globe with the utmost seriousness.
Nothing else needs to be said after that. End of story. Move on already, right? That's where I'm at with all this. But I want to know where you're at with all this. Given what you've seen throughout this video, do you agree with me that this has been a manufactured scandal? Do you even see it as a scandal? Let me know what your thoughts are about all that. And do you agree with Democrats that Pete Hegseth should resign? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Now, your favorite elected official, Jasmine Crockett, continues to make news because yesterday she insulted the governor of Texas by making fun of his disability. Now, of course, this led to backlash, and if you haven't seen that for yourself, you're going to want to take a look. So all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.